Hi, my name is Isabella Blanchett, and in this presentation I'll be discussing my community in words for the city of Lawrence, Massachusetts. So Lawrence is a small city located in the northern part of Massachusetts, which if you look over to the top left corner of the map, you can actually see the dotted line which resembles the New Hampshire border. So it's about a 5-minute drive from the northern part of Lawrence to the New Hampshire border. And it's actually Lawrence is located between two major highways in Massachusetts. So over to the right you have 495, and over to the left you have Route 93. Lawrence also has the Merrimack River, which cuts right through the center of it. It cuts right through the center of the city, and so it separates it between North and South Lawrence, which is often how people differentiate what part of Lawrence you're from. You'll be like, oh, I'm from North, or oh, I'm from South. And so, as I said, the Merrimack River is one of the main points of Lawrence, and a lot of people like capturing how the river looks, especially at sunset. And another area they like to capture is the mills that are on the river. So Lawrence was a mill city back in the 1800s, and so the mills will operate off the power of the river. And while the mills do not operate today, they are used as office space. So the Social Service Department of Massachusetts, the Department of Children and Family, as we call it, actually resides in one of the old mill buildings, which is just a cool little fun fact. And so, as I say, people really like to capture the beauty of Lawrence in terms of taking pictures of the mills on the river. And so that's why I included quite a few photos there. As far as demographics go for Lawrence, the population is roughly 80,000 people, and the city is only 6.96 square miles, but the Merrimack River actually takes up 2 square miles, so you really have 80,000 people kind of crammed into a 5 square mile radius. As far as the sex portion of the population, we have a 51% female population and a 49% male population. And then we have that 1% of other within the city. The median resident age is actually 31 years old, which is pretty young for the majority of communities. It's due to a large population of residents between the ages of 20 and 30. And over 24% of the population of Lawrence is considered to be in poverty, which is significantly high compared to the national average, along with other averages for other states and cities. The median income for the state of Massachusetts is typically $75,000, but in the city of Lawrence, the median income is only about $38,000. So you really have almost a $40,000 gap between what people typically make in Massachusetts versus what they're typically making in Lawrence. As far as race goes, 82% of the population of Lawrence is Hispanic. Specifically, the people tend to originate from Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. And 16% of the population is white, and another 3% is Asian, another 3% is black, and we have that 1% that accounts for all the other. As far as religion goes, 46% of the population identify as Catholic, which can be seen because all throughout Lawrence we have these grand churches, such as we have St. Patrick's Church, St. Mary's, and a whole bunch of others, typically located within a mile of the house. And then the next largest portion is actually the nun section. So we have about 43% of the population that identify as not having a religion. And as far as the other religions go, they're all within the 1 to 5% range. And the majority of them are either a sect of Protestant or Orthodox, or the other section. As far as crime rate goes in Lawrence, it's actually significantly higher than the US average. So this graph was actually taken from citydata.com. And so the purple lines represent Lawrence as a whole, and the green lines represent an average US city. And so Lawrence exceeds the US average in every year. And so while you see the increase around 2010, 2011, there has been a decrease from 2014 to 2016, but it's still significantly high, especially how considering in 2014, Lawrence pretty much doubled what the US average was. And so it still makes Lawrence a pretty unsafe city in that sense of the word. But I'm going to discuss that later when we discuss whether it's a good community or not. There are quite a few important institutions within the city. We actually have multiple YMCAs located throughout the city, which encourage parents to drop their kids off or have kids walk there after school, and provides them a safe environment where they're able to get their schoolwork done and socialize and hang out with friends. The Lawrence Police Department actually holds open courts 3 to 4 times a week. And so they open up one of the elementary schools located in the center of town and encourage students to play basketball there and do other sports and just hang out with friends in the controlled environment that's safe. And so the police officers will volunteer and they'll go down on their own time. They'll play basketball with the kids and interact with them. That way it also helps them not fear the police as much. And their goal is to try to prevent kids from participating in negative behaviors and just trying to get them in that safe, controlled environment. We also have 2 festivals that really take place throughout the year. We have a Hispanic festival that takes place every June for the course of a weekend where it celebrates the Dominican Republic and the Puerto Rican culture. And we also have a Feast of the Three Saints, which celebrates the Italian culture. And so the 2 festivals encourage people of the culture to participate, but also encourage people who aren't so much familiar with the culture to take part and learn about it and just kind of enjoy what it's like. The major employers for Lawrence are Lawrence General Hospital. We have a New Balance factory outlet, the Registry of Motor Vehicles for Essex County, the Department of Children and Families, one of the locations for Essex County, and then we also have quite a few barbershops that are located on one of the main streets. We have Route 28, which kind of goes through the entire town just straight down. And so on that one street, we have about 50 barbershops. So it's a booming business. Recently, there was a documentary made about Lawrence, and the documentary kind of helps me discuss how it is a good community or how it isn't. I'm not going to show the documentary just because there's a lot of material in that might make other people uncomfortable, but I highly encourage people to click on it and just to watch it. It discusses primarily the opioid crisis which is going on and how Lawrence is kind of a hub for that, and how it has an effect on the community. It also discusses how the gang involvement has been increasing and has been making the city a lot more dangerous than it typically was. So as I said, I highly encourage you to click on it and watch it. I just didn't want to show it to people in case they didn't want to watch it, because in the trailer you actually see someone shooting up fentanyl. So I'm going to move on to, is Lawrence, Mass. A good community? And so in the article it discusses safety as one of the primary ways to tell whether something is a good community. And so Lawrence has extremely high crime rates between gang involvement and shootings and stabbings and murders. We actually just had a teenage kid decapitated a few months back, and we have shootings pretty much all the time. And so in that sense of the word, Lawrence really isn't safe. Also, this past September, we actually had a string of gas explosions from the gas building up in the pipes, which actually did make national news. And so Lawrence is still recovering from that as well. So in that sense of the word, Lawrence is not really a safe community. In terms of goods and services, Lawrence has a low median income but a high cost of living, which makes it so a lot of people struggle to make ends meet, and they primarily survive off federal money in programs such as the EBT program and WIC. It's extremely hard to make relationships in the town of Lawrence because there's a lot of fear going around. People fear their neighbors, their community members. I personally don't know a lot of my neighbors because I don't know who they are and I don't feel comfortable even going outside on my front porch. Even walking down the street, I'd never walk down the street by myself, which also speaks to the community values because there's that lack of relationships. There's also that lack of community values as well. As far as predictability goes, Lawrence has the sense of predictability in terms of the negative connotations that come with it. And so it's predictable to turn on the news and see another shooting in Lawrence, or to see another person has overdosed, or to even when you're walking down the street to see needles everywhere. So it's predictable in the sense of having the dangerous side of it, which is terrible. And it also lacks a positive opportunity where a lot of people feel like they're stuck and they have no way out, and how they need to get involved in a gang to survive, or how they're just kind of stuck in the minimum wage flow of things. And so all in all, Lawrence really is not the best community, and I wouldn't deem it a good community at all. If I were to change things, my first tackle would be the safety, to try to make it so Lawrence is a safer environment, to try to increase police patrols and cut down on the drug use and the gang involvement. And then after that, you could tackle all the other areas of it, because if it's a safe environment, people will feel more comfortable reaching out to neighbors and developing those relationships, and the community might then develop values and become predictable in a good sense of the word. So that was my presentation on Lawrence, Massachusetts. Here are my references. If you want to watch the documentary, what's called Lawtown, it's a great documentary. I highly encourage it, and I hope you enjoyed.